So you see, I found this quote from Hume, and he says something that is it kind of relates to what we are talking now. And he says, when I enter most intimately into what I call myself, so he talks about identity, right? I always stumble on some particular perception of or other, of heat or cold, light or shade, love and hatred, pain or pleasure. I never, and this is quite interesting, I never can catch myself at any time without a perception, and never can observe anything but the perception. So so because we were talking about currency and being yourself as a currency, so isn't it? I mean, being yourself is filtering the outside world, the world around us, through our sensations. And this is currency. This can become currency. So I was thinking measuring, scaling, weighing is this kind of, again, a mode of being, and how we always kind of think of the world. We always kind of measure things. You know, how the idea of how long it takes me to arrive to a point, is my response to your demand proper? It's always kind of scaling and weighing. And this is one thing. And then, okay, to express the fact that at the moment of quitting someone, there is something to be gained. Yes. And we talked last time about this idea that Hannah Arendt said, forgiving somebody without being asked to. And that's quite, it keeps is stuck in my head to a greater degree now. The idea of acquitting somebody, right? Because I put like forgetting and acquitting into some correspondence. And yes, so forgetting somebody or something, forgiving somebody without being asked to, as a means of production, as a way to produce something, either a power or social status or anything like that. And I think this is
acquitting. You're using that forgiveness when you're talking about acquitting as a form of production, right? Like
yes, in this way.
Okay.
Yeah. I said here, you see, acquitting in the tag, acquitting as a form of production, of hardening a position on a view or social and political influence.
And that could be either like,
yeah,
not even just like like if we're going like the legal terms as well, but yeah, definitely. It's hardening a position. I really love that. Stabilizing or like, stabilizing or settling.
Yeah, and I put here like that I like the discussion, you know, last time we had about cancel culture. It's quite interesting to go deeper into that. I think with the idea of exonerating and releasing from guilt, or to unguilt, or to put more guilt on something. And well,
yeah, like the reformative justice conversation. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. And I don't know, but the idea of currency is something that can be maybe attached to what we already have right now, in a way. The idea that facts can be currency, truth can be currency, truth as currency. And yeah, and
categorization is capital. Yeah, it's social capital. And yeah, categorization is capital.
Yeah. So if we come back to the website that you sent me, it seems that everything can be currency if it's put in the right hands or the right mind of somebody. If somebody can use that, can be currency. And you know, this sort of thing. So it's quite volatile. Don't know, you know.
Yeah, it's like a never-ending beast that just like eats up everything around it until it becomes like you know, the one thing. Yeah, I can actually.
It's like nothing is innocent, you know.
Nothing. Well, even, what's really interesting to me right now also is Prada is doing these really like existentialist questions. Did I show you this already before?
No.
Prada's been like asking questions. Like, yeah. just
Wow.
make you think of data or so, which is really funny given, and then like, but it's answer at prada.com, but they actually want everybody to answer their own questions. Like they want people to reach out and answer. So they're like just gathering all these really interesting questions about everything. But yeah, this idea of capital in terms of that is interesting too. Like even this idea of existing, like Prada is now capitalizing on that, you know?
Yeah, I like this idea that you are saying, you know, because Prada is asking us to do it's like throwing the work on our shoulders, that we should do the work. We should come with answers.
Yes, it's
yes. It kind of relates to the idea of us willfully participating in some sort of game from which we don't gain anything actually directly.
Yeah, because it's just marketing our own thoughts and ideas back to us, you know, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because look, it's like, is the future a romantic idea for you? What role does function have? Is it still relevant? Like, you know, do you think in languages or images? Like, it's boring. It's so interesting. Yeah, and then Web 3.0 is like, Web 3.0, here we go. So Web 1.0 was the internet, like the original internet, where it just displays information. Web 2.0 is when we're able to, interact with like databases, like, you know, social media and everything. And now we're thinking about Web 3.0, which is like, everything device agnostic, which is really interesting. Yeah, more tagging, more algorithms, you know, everything. It's that, but algorithms are reading us and responding to us. So we're getting so used to being read by like, you know, like all these different technologies and all these different ways and responding and being marketed back to. You know? Yeah, I love it as conceptual, like source material or like fodder, you know, just because I feel like in the world that we live in right now, like capital is everything, you know, and there's so much we can learn about the way that capital travels or like capital functions, considering, you know, we're using the logic from the earlier conversation, the object, any categorization or any object is capital. And then also there, you were talking about that, the Hannah Arendt, about this idea of forgiveness, or like this idea of, I think that kind of evolved into talking about like, and correct me if I'm wrong, this idea of like a categorization as a way of like dismissing a charge or defining a charge. Is that right? And thinking about that, you know, these brands are doing that in a way, you know, they're playing with that, you know, by saying like, this is a metallic object, you know, and it's a picture of a bag. I wish I could find the pictures right now. I'll just try to send them over to you, but, you know, just like thinking about that idea is really interesting.
So what I get from what you are saying partly is that there is a tendency to run away from what something firsthand means or stands for. Because if we are, I mean, if, you know, what I want to say is that, you know, a toaster is a toaster, but I mean, its function is to toast bread. But if you market it as something that is so important or so contingent upon your existence in a very meaningful way, it's not anymore only a toaster. It's maybe even something else. And I guess maybe the Prada is doing, in a way, similar things, or other companies, you know, it's almost like they run away from what the product really is. It seems that we don't so much like, and this is like the symptoms of a culture we kind of, I guess, live in right now with the Trump era and all this, that we cannot believe in, we don't so much believe anymore in anything. I mean, you show me a book and I'm saying, this is not the book, this is something else, you know, this idea, and it's in front of me. And I remember actually Trump did that at some point. He said something, he was asked if he actually said that, and he said, no, I didn't say that. I mean, like in a split of a second, you know. And is that possible? And it seems it is possible, because you know, so
yeah,
I don't know, it's troubling to some degree, this idea that you cannot actually kind of, you know, say this is it, this is not it. And the idea of categorization, as you say, which to some degree is good. I mean, we need to kind of know that this is done, that this period in history is closed, that we conclude that we move on, that this is a toaster, that this is this is that. Otherwise, if everything is kind of under question, if we question everything all the time, we won't arrive at anything, isn't it?
Yeah, like definitions are definitely important. But maybe, yeah, they need to constantly be changing, you know? This idea of transparency as opacity as well that you were kind of pointing to.
Yeah, it is about that too. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you know, like, oh no, this is what this is. Yeah, so like that's completely, yeah, being transparent, but also it's like super opaque because like you can't get past that point. Yeah. You know, like maybe like the levels of clarity. Yeah, the levels of clarity function as, yeah, it's inverse again. Yeah.
You know what I found out, I mean, I looked for the synonyms for the term forgiving, and forgiving, it means also to let pass, right? Which is, it's probably a common, but it also means dismiss from mind, to dismiss from mind. That's quite something, isn't it?
I really love that.
Yeah, it's strange. And you know, talking about acquitting, and to acquit, and to unload, and to set free of something, can you do that only through the mind?
Yeah, is it a perception thing?
Is it yeah, and can it be fulfilling to I mean, can, you know,
and what is the process for that?
Yeah, let you know, because we talked about cancel culture and the idea of the statues coming down, and it's something, you know, it's something relating to this in a way, to the idea of forgiving, but with that, but not only on a mental level, on a discursive level or a narrative level, but it needs to be physical. This is something, you know, that our kind of society needs, like a physicality, physical approach. It's not enough just textbooks, you know. So
The symbolic gesture.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like and so it's about this action, and maybe this comes from us being performance, you know, based artists or whatever, you know, maybe that's somewhere we can go. But yeah, it's about this idea of action and carrying out this language or carrying out these concepts. Like they have no power, real power, until they're put into action, you know, because that is the physical embodiment. Like they have to be embodied. Does that,
yeah, it means a lot to me what you just said. Absolutely. I just want to add this, that, you know, it can also be of some importance, the fact that I am also I myself, or you embody yourself, the thought. So you are already an embodiment of the thought. So you are already something physical, a physical embodiment of your thought process, of all that. So in a way, you know, yes, absolutely. So having this idea on board, and being an embodiment already, your decisions after that in life will be a form of an expression of that thought. You know what I mean? So in a way, I'm already an example of, let's say, I mean, it can be an example of being a good man or a bad man, or somebody who wants to, you know, impose power or whatever on something.
Yeah, and it depends on your narrative, and then like whatever narrative like you decide to go with will carry out that embodiment, like will carry out differently as well. So there's like all
Yes.
paths you can take.
Okay, and you mentioned, you know, you I think you emphasized quite a lot last time, at least, the idea of self-acquitting.
Yeah, yeah, self-acquittal, like this idea
Yeah,
of
yeah,
let me go back. But it was this idea, and it was like an older use of the term, but this idea of paying off a debt or discharging a liability, which puts the person, like, you know, the internal, it's like more of the person, like, you know, the acting force is like the internal person and not the external force.
yeah,
Not defining, but that's like the archaic term, which is really interesting. So it's
yeah.
not like the self-influence by self-influencing others, it's others influencing self. Yeah, you know.
And am I right if I'm saying that this is also something to do with moral decision? It's more
Yeah, definitely
focused on a moral
yes.
being.
I mean, it could be. We could definitely go there for sure, I think. Yeah. And I think when we were looking at that, I'm sure, yeah, that got brought up. Yeah.
Because you know, I find this interesting. The idea of working with. Yeah, it's kind of strange, but the idea of working with ourselves, so with the embodiment of this, to just let the idea of acquitting self, to acquit yourself, the idea of acquitting yourself, or to work with the idea of forgiving within yourself something, being already an embodiment of some sort.
Yeah.
And to look at
and to discharge part. Yeah.
Yeah, and to experiment or just be attentive during a day, whatever, during of how, of what that changes, what that brings in relationship with others.